Hello, everybody out there, or the two or three people that actually watch our videos, and thank you. I'm Dan from TheSmokeBreak, also known as the Pretty One, also known as that one guy who has been on the live streams but hasn't put out a video on our channel yet. So I'm kind of playing catch up with Brian. And so here I'm going to be talking about. I don't do as much video game stuff. I mean, I still play video games, obviously, since you've seen me on our streams. If you haven't, go check out our streams on Twitch TV/ The Smoke Break, and or don't, because they're kind of bunk, but whatever. I'm going to talk more about role-playing games, pen and papers, tabletops, that sort of deal, and I'm also pretty into film and filmmaking, so I'll probably be putting out some videos of movie reviews, my thoughts on movies, other, shit like that. So, I'm going to get right into it. So, today's topic for me was suggested by my partner in crime, Brian. He wanted me to make a video on things I hate that players, and maybe I'll get into some stuff that VMs do, but probably players, things that I hate that players do at the gaming table, or things that I hate that players do while they're playing RPGs. And I have not prepared at all in advance. I haven't written out bullet points. I don't even know how long this is going to go. So this is total stream of consciousness, and I'm going to get into it. So the first thing, and this is so simplistic, and it really kind of pisses me off that I even have to address this, but name your fucking character. I was playing in a game recently with some friends. It wasn't a very serious game. We had started up that night, and I found out that group had never named their characters. What's even the point? I mean, this goes into the same thing that people talk about when they bitch about power gaming, which is, what's the point? Why aren't you fucking playing Diablo, you stupid piece of shit? Why are you polluting my hobby with your bullshit? But, like, not naming your character, not taking any effort whatsoever into creating a person to play. Like, I mean, you can forgive bad roleplay. You really can sometimes with newer players because they don't know exactly what to do, or people who are more socially awkward, as a lot of nerds tend to be, and they tend to have some misunderstandings about what actually makes people tick and work. Not saying that I have any great wisdom. I'm not that old. I haven't been around much. I don't have that much worldly experience, but I can at least put an effort forward. So name your damn characters. And like the way they did in this group is they just called each other by their real names. So it's basically like playing a board game. And yeah, that's fucking stupid. And if you're gonna name your characters, put some effort into it. I mean, you don't have to, and I get that a lot of people, I guess they're not as creative, or they don't know enough history, or things that'll really inform what they would name their characters. Hold on a second. But, what I like to do when I name my characters is I put a lot of effort into my characters' names. It helps to make them original, and your name informs a lot about your personality. This is a fact of psychology. I mean, there's simple things like the fact that my name's Dan, and statistically I favor words with D's in them, and I favor people whose names have D's in them as well. I don't know how true that is, but statistically that's supposed to be true, even though it infuriates me whenever I meet someone else named Dan, because that's just one more person that's stealing my thunder, if you know what I'm saying. But, yeah, name your characters. Like, I'm playing in a campaign now, and, my character was very heavily based on, Atlantis myths. She's a Gillman, if you're familiar with the advanced rulebook, which is sort of D&D's equivalent, or Pathfinder's equivalent to the Atlanteans. And Atlantis is based on Crete, and in turn it's also heavily based on Greek. So I went and I found a Greek name, or at least a Greek-sounding name, that fit with her personality and fit with what I wanted to achieve with that character while still being memorable. I played a character who was a Mongolian/Chinese, sort of in a fantasy setting, and I found a name that sounded convincing and believable for somebody with that background. And, like, stupid names. I remember Dawnforge Cast mentioned that they played in Pathfinder Society, which is bunk. I mean, I've never played in one of those public games, but they sound just like shit, and nothing I'd want to play at. But, yeah, he mentioned that somebody played with a character named, like, Evil McSmitey or some crap, and, like, what's even the point of that? Like, why are you even playing this game? And, like, stupid names is one thing, and in fact, a stupid name can be a pretty good jumping off point for a character. Like, imagine you're playing a character either in, like, a modern setting or in a fantasy setting where their parents were, like, hippies, or they're, like, traditional, like, tree-hugging druids, like, really stereotypical druids, and they name them something like Lily Pond, and the character is not about that. like that might really affect their personality. You know, they might change their name, and then you could bring that up as a plot point later that that's not their real name, and maybe they're wanted, or there are people trying to get them from their old life, or you know, what have you. There's a whole number of things you can do with that. Or you could just have them keep their name, as like, you know, a lot of people do who aren't happy with their names. They don't have the balls to actually fuck their identity over, or I guess that's a bad way of putting it, but you know, change their identity. You know, it's what you're born with. It's, you know, it is kind of a personal thing to change your own name, and you know, that can be good motivation, or it can be a good character aspect. So you don't have to shy away from stupid names, but you should always have a reason why your character has a stupid name. I mean, maybe they're a very low intelligence, and that name was put upon them. Maybe it's a slave name. Maybe it's a traditional name for whatever backwards ass race they're from, or whatever. But yeah, that's number one. Number one is just names in general. I have a lot of things to say about names, as you've just heard, but in general, name your character, and always have that name make sense for your character, and think about what that name has done to make that character who they are. Okay, number two, this one you're going to hear all the time, is power gaming. Power gaming is the same reason. Why are you even playing an RPG if you're going to power game? You're not playing a character at that point, you're playing numbers on a page. And that's a very common thing that is said with role players about other role players, is, you know, you're not playing statistics, you're playing a person. There's this old terminology, which is, it's not role play, like roll a dice, it's role play, as in you're playing a role, like a human being, or a role in a fantasy setting, like I am the protagonist, or whatever. And yeah, so power gaming, it's the reason it's bunk more than anything is that it fucks over the other players. I mean, it's one thing to power game and make your character effective, right? That's why I'm always like, that's why I get kind of miffed at Pathfinder and games like that, because sometimes I want to make a character who's really effective in this one situation. Like say he's really good at swimming and he can hold his breath for like a really long time. That's not that useful. But it means that I'm going to have to put all my feats and my rogue talents, if you're playing a rogue, because I was playing a rogue when I made that character app, and you have to put all of that into water breathing, and you're going to get gimped in other situations. That's why systems like the storyteller system or storytelling system, they're very similar from the vampire games, are good because they're more generalized and you don't have feats. Feats can be a blessing and a curse. And like Tetsubo always says, feats are really precious to players, and they change your character a lot, and they inform a lot about what your character's about. I very much subscribe to this ideal when I'm making a character, or when I'm playing a game, or when I'm making my systems, which is the mechanics should reinforce your character. If you're trying to play a character who's really smart, then you should be able to do things that a really smart person should be able to do. You should be able to go to a library and do a lot of research. You should be able to learn things very quickly. If you're playing someone who's wise, then you should be able to make good decisions and not just be gimped because you rolled bad all the time. I mean, you gotta introduce that randomness in the game, because that's what really makes the difference between a role-playing game and just telling stories with people. And so you need to have roles, but I mean, at some point they can come to the detriment of your character. And I've gone on a huge tangent, but in general, don't power game. I mean, it's an easy thing to work around, but the problem with it is, if you're playing a game that has a decent amount of combat encounters, which you generally will be playing that type of game because most game masters run that type of game, however unfortunate it may be depending on your playstyle, and you get one guy in there who's power gaming, you're fucked. You're gimped. You don't get to do anything. You wanted to make this cool warrior character who, rather than using a sword and shield, uses his fists, and he grapples people and breaks people's knees, and he chants to them about their wicked ways, or some other weird Judge Dredd-esque concept. And then you got some guy playing a sorcerer who can throw like 19 fireballs a day. You're fucked. You don't get to do your cool shit, because the guy who's power gamed gets to do like just stupid generic fireball crap. Because when people power game, it's never cool. It's always, oh, I use a spiked chain, and I have 2 levels in Rogue, and 2 levels in Ranger, and I had to do, like, 96 damage for some other such stupid fucking reason. Or I have an animal companion that is 900 feet tall, but can still fit in a 5-foot space. Fuck that. I hate that shit, and that's a big problem with Pathfinder, And 3.5, I haven't played too much 3.5. I've played much more Pathfinder. I actually started with 4th edition, and just that was a bad place to start. And that was a problem with 4th as well. But Pathfinder does have a lot of feats that kind of some of them choke RP, like that you'll read them and they sound cool, but then you realize that by having this feat in the game, it means that you couldn't do what this feat says without having the feat. I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head, but if you look at some of the rogue archetypes, like the driver and the acrobat, then you'll kind of see what I'm getting at. Like, you'll get these cool acrobat powers, but it means that you couldn't have done those without the feat, which means that you need to be this specific class in order to do any of this cool shit. And then that's just bunk. And I think power gaming is very much a symptom of the super focused and ultra customizable system that is Pathfinder. You know, the customization of your character is a blessing and a curse in Pathfinder, and it comes out bad a lot. But that's about all I have to say on that topic. Let's move on. Backstory. Yeah, number 3. Your backstory, it's when you're writing a character's backstory, which you should do. You don't have to tell it to your DM or anything like that. I mean, you should just write one for the sake of you. Personally, when I make a character, I prefer to write like a vignette of their life, like a short story that'll inform who their character is. Like, I was playing in a fantasy post-apocalyptic 1700s campaign. I was playing like a rogue bomb maker type character, like a very out for himself, that type of guy, drunkard. And I wrote like a little short story about him having to blow up all of his belongings to save his own life. And it informed a lot about what my character would do in a lot of situations that would come up in the game. And it made my character stronger because I knew who he was more. He wasn't just thoughts in my head anymore. He was a story that I could refer to and being like, based upon the actions of this piece that I have written down, would he in fact do this in the game? And I think that's good. Backgrounds are important. You should always know who your character's family is, even if they don't. The character, that is. You should always know like what their childlike life was. Like, were they bullied? Were they a bully? Did they have to work as a child? Were they enslaved? Did they have to learn how to fight at a young age? All of that should inform your character, and you should know all of that. Also, with backgrounds, and this is a big problem, is a lot of people they overextend. I don't think that's the right word. They aggrandize their background too much or too little, and I say that because your background depends a lot on your character's level, right? If your characters are starting at level 6 or 10, even 6, then they've done good things. They've done great things, even maybe. They're heroes at that point. If they're starting at level 1, they haven't done shit. They are probably fresh out the farm. They got 1 level in fighter because every morning they go out and hit a scarecrow with a stick. And they're like, booyah, I know how to use this sword. Like, they're not heroes, and they shouldn't have any backstory that even hints that they're heroes. Maybe if you want to play a character that's a paladin, they've done like 1 good deed. Maybe they saved someone from a burning building. And that's decent. I mean, it doesn't take a whole... I mean, it does... I'm not going to diss on firefighters or any shit, but it doesn't take a whole lot of combat prowess. It's not like saving someone from a burning building is one thing, and fighting a dragon before level 1 is a completely different thing. And doing something small like that, or at least, I guess mundane is the best word for it, even though all respect to anybody out there who saved a child from a burning building. But I think you get what my point is. So your background is informed by your character's personality. Well, actually, your background usually informs your personality, but generally I work backwards. It's very difficult to work from a background forward, unless you have one specific background that you really want to get out there. But yeah, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. And your level should inform your background too. If you're starting at a 15th level campaign and your character's like, oh well, I've been working in a mine for 5 years, then how the fuck you get to level 20 or 15 or whatever I said? How the hell did you do that? You can't be doing that by breaking rocks. Yeah, you might have like 10 ranks in fucking Profession Minor, but it doesn't explain how you're also a 15th level wizard or something. You know, bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. All right. What are we at? Number 4? This is gonna be hard. Cause I'm running out of ideas. I might cut it off here, but I'm gonna sit here and ponder, and then I'll edit it backward because I'm, you know, silly like that. I'm silly like a little frog, man. Hmm. 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 Oh yeah, unnecessary exotic traits. Um, this is a problem you have a lot with new players. It's also called Mary Suing, or being a Mary Sue. I remember my first group that I started playing RPGs with, we had one guy, I never actually got to play with him, but there were legends and myths of his terrible Mary Sue role-playing throughout our games. Like a lot of inside jokes where people would be like, you know, they'd make like jokes about what he had done in their campaigns in the past, being a shitty role player. And his big deal was dragons, you know, real obsessed with dragons. And I get it, dragons are cool. They're cool. I can't mess with that. No matter how much they've been overplayed by things like Skyrim and Dungeons and Dragons in general, they're still a cool thing. But yeah, no, like you don't have to make your character, if you're playing a character that's like, a lot of new role players will be like, I'm a half drow or something really exotic, and then their role play won't really reflect that. They'll kind of have just said that for the point of it being cool, and it's not cool. Your character isn't cool because of the words that you've written about them on the page. I mean, just because you say that their sword is badass as hell and they've used it to kill hundreds of orcs, that doesn't make them cool. It's cool how they interact with the world and what they actually do. And having your character be like a prophesized hero, especially if you're starting at level 1, I mean, I guess that makes more sense because you're starting out as a prophesized hero, but still, I would avoid all that. I typically like to make... I had this big trapping and failing, actually, in my roleplay for a while, where I did not want to play anybody with any sort of grandeur. Or, I probably pronounced that weird, I did that kind of on purpose. Grandeur. I didn't want to play a character with any sort of grandeur at all. I was really obsessed with playing gritty. I guess gritty is the only word for it, but like you know, really believable, low fantasy, low to the ground characters. People who were like drunks and had lots of personal issues and weren't very heroic. I that is sort of a problem, and I mean, it's better than playing too many heroes, I think, but I've gotten past that, and now I realize that I can play somebody with a heroic backstory. Like, right now I'm playing a character who's a princess. Yeah, I'm playing a fucking princess. What, you want to fight about it? Huh? But, yeah, I'm playing a princess, and it's cool. It's cool. There's a lot of roleplay that can come of it if you got a good DM. And you don't have to be, like... You don't have to, you know... glitz it up or anything, you know. There's like, if you watch a lot of historical dramas, there's a lot of drama and deep, gritty personal issues that can come from being a noble of any kind. Have you ever, like movies like Elizabeth, and there's this new one coming out of out of France. I think it's out of France. I know it's in French, but it stars that one guy who was Sharif in Casino Royale. He was also One Eye in Valhalla Rises, and he's playing this like French noble or prince. And there's a lot of like really gritty personal conflict that come with being a noble. And it's also interesting to analyze their psychology from a role-playing perspective, because you have to understand, if you're playing in a traditional medieval setting, nobles inherently were raised to think that they're just a better class of people than the commoners, and they might be the nicest goddamn person on earth. They might donate all their money to charity. They might go in and wash lepers or whatever. But they still think less of those people. They may not be a dick about it, but they still do. And there's a lot of interesting things that come off of that. And so what I'd like to say is, if you're going to play a normal character, don't make their background... if you're going to play a more mundane character, or if you don't think you can actually roleplay all those intricacies that come with with a lot of social baggage, then don't. Play a normal guy and then let the role play flow into you. You know, if you're playing in a level 1 campaign and you don't think you can really pull off being a forgotten noble of some drow house or something like that, then just play a farmer. Play a farmer who picks up a sword and wants to go out and help people, or wants to go out and make money, or make himself famous, or outdo his father who only managed to make a farm. You know, he wants to be a better person or something. Play someone like that. Play someone with simple motivations at first, and then their motivations get more complicated as you go on. If you're an experienced role player, like I think I am, I've been role playing for like 4 years, and I've been role playing consistently for those 4 years. And before that, I have a background in acting and writing, so I jumped into the hobby a little easier than most people, and I get it. Role playing is hard. It was easier for me given that I have a background of making myself ridiculous in front of people, but like I'm doing right now. And so no, I get it. It's hard. So if you don't think you can do that, then don't do that. Play a more simplistic character, or at least a character that starts simple, a character that's untested, a character that doesn't have a whole lot going on in his life. Maybe he's got a mom and a dad and a sister, but they're all at a farm and they're fine. He just wants to go out and do something. If you're a more experienced role player, don't shy away from making characters with a little bit of eccentricity. Sorry about that, I'm sick. Like I got a bronchial infection. Maybe my voice sounds weird. My throat definitely tastes like fucking terrible. Tastes like a burnt out log. But yeah, so if for an experienced role player, don't shy away from that type of character, and you'd be doing yourself a disservice by only playing regular ass people like I did for fucking months, half a year probably. I had that really stuck in my mind. I totally went off topic, and that's what I'm doing. This is Dan's Rants, people. I don't stick to topics. Topics are for fools. But it's time to get back to topic, because I'm a fool, and I'm rambling as fuck. Number 5 thing I don't like. Players who don't sell. I had never heard of the term selling until until Ander Wood of the What Would Ander Do, or What Would Ander Do channel, which you should check out because he's the grandmaster of RPGs and immersion. I may not agree with everything he says, and I think in the videos I'm going to put out further in this line, you'll see me wearing this same sexy-ass getup. I'm going to go into why I disagree with some of his points, but in general, he's brilliant, and you have a lot to learn from listening to his channel. But yeah, players who don't sell and DMs who don't sell. This pisses me off to no end. Say I have a really badass character trait, something that I really want to get out there, something that sets my character apart, and it's something that has informed his personality, and thus the personality that I created for him. And if it's not sold, then my personality doesn't make any sense. Like, I had a character who was an elf monk, and he was 7 feet tall. And imagine in a medieval setting where what was the average height back then? Like 5'3"? 5'3". A 7-foot tall guy. Fucking mind-blowing. A 7-foot tall guy now is pretty mind-blowing, but back then, you'd be going, what the fuck? Who's this tall giant dude coming in my tavern? You know, you'd be scared. You'd be talking to them, like, what the fuck's with you? Maybe you'd try to get him out of your tavern, right? It just makes sense to me. And my DM did nothing with it. And I kept on saying, like, whenever it would come up, I would just slide it in a little bit, trying to hope that he would catch onto this little chocolatey nugget of role-playing goodness I am laying forth for you. Just something to give a little flavor to the world. But no, the DM did not do a shitting thing with the... Nah, it gets me mad. And that's because it was a jack to me. But when you do that and you experience that, it'll be a jack to you. I mean, say you make a character who's missing his hand. He's missing his hand. Damn it. And nothing ever happens with it. Or say you make a character who has hideous burns on the side of his face, and nobody in the world reacts to it. You go up to a tavern, you go to buy a drink, and you try to flirt with lady, and nobody's been like, dude, what the fuck happened to your face? Or they're like, and they don't want to look at you. Like, that's fucking stupid. Your character, his whole life, if he were a real person, would be nervous and have been ridiculed because people are cruel. Sometimes. Most times, you're going to find cruelty in your life. And if you make this character who has a sad backstory of, oh, when he was a little kid, orcs raided his village, and these were really weird orcs that like to brand children with acid, and he has this acid burn on the side of his face, and he comes riding into town, and he's all sullen, and he's got his hood up, and, hopefully you're not making some silly-ass Aragorn-type character, but, it's fine to play a mopey guy every once in a while, especially if you don't get too mopey. You can play a loner without being a Final Fantasy character. Oh, another thing that pisses me off. Never, ever, ever take your role-playing cues from Final Fantasy. Ever. That shit sucks. It sucks dick. Or anime. Anime sucks. And I say that from the perspective of someone who really likes anime as an art form. Anime sucks dick. Just about every single anime has no concept of what a human being thinks like. At all. So, if you're trying to make a role-playing character, someone that you want to experience a world real, like tangibly, and actually get into that immersion, and feel like you're being another person, don't base them off an anime character. Don't base your characters off of people. It's fine to take inspiration from people. Say you want a character who uses a whip, and you might be just jacking that from Indiana Jones, but you could do a new spin on it. I mean, I've played a drunken bomb guy. There are tons of drunken bomb guys, or there's a few. I kind of got it from that one movie, The Fall. Yeah, I think Spike Jonze or Spike Lee directed that. It's the one where the guy's addicted to morphine, and he tricks that little Spanish girl into getting him morphine. And then they go on this weird adventure, and it's really colorful and beautiful, and it's all shot on location, but it all looks like a fanciful world, and it's all bright colors. You guys should really check that movie out. It's not the best, but it's really pretty, and it's an enjoyable as hell movie. And they had a drunk German bomb guy, and I was like, that's awesome. I'd love to play a drunk bomb guy, so I did. And it's fine to take your cues, or if you say, like me, are kind of spiteful towards Japanese storytelling, at least when it comes to anime and anime and video games. Their movies are really good. I like Japanese movies a lot, especially horror. I mean, I can't get their comedy. Their comedy is way outside of my Western mindset. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna try to do a reinterpretation of a classic character, like one of my first role-playing characters was my reinterpretation of Superman. And that's fine. That's cool. I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, you might have different thoughts on it, but fuck you, because I think it's cool. But don't play Vash the Stampede. Don't play Cloud Strife. Don't play whatever the fuck the main character of Bleach is. I think it's Ichigo. That show sucks. Show sucks. Don't play Naruto. Just don't. If you fucking play Naruto, I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm not literally gonna kick your ass. I don't know you. And I would never play a game with somebody who actually genuinely enjoys Naruto. Complete offense to any Naruto fans out there. Y'all need to really get your shit together and understand what storytelling is. And what characters are. And that people don't go, believe it! Every 5 seconds. It's not how human beings work. They don't have catchphrases. You may have a phrase you say a lot, but you don't fucking walk into every single room you've ever been in and be, I'm the greatest ninja in the world, believe it! That's not how things work. It's stupid. I've been rambling for like 30 minutes now. But yeah, that's things I hate. I hate characters that don't make any goddamn sense. And half the times they're based around someone who really likes anime. And I hate to generalize like that. Actually, I don't, because I love putting down weeaboos. Because they deserve to be put down. Their fan base is ridiculous, and they are the reason that anime is such a terrible art form. Let me go into another rant. Dan's Rant Part 2. Time to yell about anime. Anime is brilliant. I love cartoons. Always have loved cartoons. Ever since I was a little kid, Tom and Jerry Looney Tunes, that's my shit right there. And anime, from my childhood perspective, seemed like a natural extension of that. Oh, great. They're going to take cartoons that are like childish and awesome in a childish way, and then make them with more adult themes, but still maintaining the fact that they're animated so you can do whatever you want, and there's no limits on your creativity, and it's not as weird and juxtaposed as CGI. Brilliant. I love that. Show me some good cartoons, adult cartoons. And anime just doesn't do that. They've basically been, for the past 10 years since Dragon Ball Z, and I love Dragon Ball Z, Nostalgia, really. It's probably, like, on a technical level or on a storytelling level, it's not that good. I mean, I can't really say because I'm so jaded, and I'm not jaded. What I'm talking about? I watch too much Dragon Ball Z. My opinion is totally... I can't make an analytical opinion of Dragon Ball Z. Watch too much of it as a little kid. Same with Power Rangers. Love Power Rangers. And I know you're going to be like, what's this hypocrite talk about? Bad storyteller, bad characters, he loves Power Rangers? I don't have an answer for you. You're completely right. It's complete bullshit when I'm spitting at you. It's pretentious. No, it's not. It's, what's that word? Contradictory. Hypocritical. Sorry, I'm rambling. It's late. I'm tired. I'm not tired at all. I'm actually a little jacked up, but I'm nervous. But, I'm not nervous. But, anime. Yeah. They've been running with the same archetypes for, like, 10 years. There's always the hero, and the problem is that anime fans will just eat it up. They don't care. They don't want good storytelling for some fucking reason. They think just because it comes out of Japan and it's got some stupid ass catchphrase, it's got motion lines all over the fucking place, that it's quality. It's not fucking quality. Go take a cue from comic book fans. Comic book fans are generally extremely critical of their art form. Extremely. They love comic books. I love comic books. But whenever a shitty-ass comic book comes out, comic fans are the first ones to bitch about it. And anime fans never fucking complain. Never. One Piece is the best out of the big three, but fucking Bleach is still on the air when Naruto still has a huge rabid fan base. Why? That shit's terrible. Have you ever actually watched, like, with your fucking critical thinking, an episode of any of that? It's awful. It's terrible. Awful storytelling with mediocre animation, fucking really outlandish and stupid character design. It's one thing to have your characters look outlandish and colorful, and it's another thing to have them look like vapid sex objects with no understanding of the laws of physics when it comes to their clothing. It's abhorrent, and the fact that people continuously pour money into this and keep watching it and eating it up and try to tell me that it's good. Fuck them. Fuck your stupid opinion, you dumbass weeaboo piece of shit. But I'm gonna end this on a high note. Anime that I think is good. Newer anime. I'm gonna say the obvious one is Attack on Titan. The first episode of that is brilliant, and it gets downhill-ish as they start to go in and people are transforming into big monsters. As much as I like me some big monster fights, I was just watching Gamera a few minutes ago, and that's silly as fuck. But there's a place for silly enjoyment. My problem with the anime genre is that all of it, most of it, like 90 if not more % of it, is stupid and worthless. It's fine to have your guilty pleasures, your stuff that you know is silly. You know that it's not really worth anything in terms of emotional content or intellectual content, but it's fine to have that. I mean, I like Van Helsing, that movie. That movie is, by all intents and purposes, generally considered terrible. I love that movie. And, I mean, I love some bad anime, but, in general, the genre is just really bad, and the reason it's really bad is because of you dumbass fans that eat it up when it's terrible, and you don't think critically, and you're the one killing a genre that had a lot of promise. But, good anime will be, let me talk about, Attack on Titan. It's quality. I'm not completely up to date. I think I last episode I watched was, like, 25, and, it was good. It's an entertaining show. It reminds me a lot of Full Metal Alchemist in the way that the world is kind of alien, but at the same time not. And it has a lot of weird interpretations of Western ethos and pathos. And I find it an intriguing show. And the monster designs for the Titans are scary. They are scary. They're like big toddlers, and they have big blank eyes, and they look innocent, and they do terrible things, and that's very good. That's very good art direction, and I can dig that show. I mean, yes, it's stupid that they use fucking like grappling hook guns I mean, everything else is medieval, but why do they have magnetic grappling hook guns? They'd have to have some sort of laser targeting system in order to be able to shoot the grappling hook, because the grappling hook doesn't come out of the front of the gun, it comes out of their hip. But they use like a pointer on their swords, so it'd have to be lasers, right? How the fuck are they doing that? Where's the rest of their technology? Why are they still using cannons? I don't know. Anime a lot of times makes no sense. But other than that, good show. Next one. Sword Art Online. When I first heard about this show, I did not want to... It's on Toonami right now. I don't know how current it is, but it's on Toonami, so it's kind of fresh in my head. And I've been watching it, because I watch Toonami. Nostalgia, mostly. And, it's great. I mean, it's not great, but it's intriguing. It goes places that most anime won't. It's like the show that Dot Hack Sai should have been, and didn't have the balls to do. Dot Hack, just like all anime and anime that gets that popular or is a shonen, devolves into fucking Dragon Ball Z. It devolves into fight monster, stupid bullshit fight monster, blah 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 blah. But Sword Art, the most brilliant thing about it is that they had the characters get married. And equal amount of time in the show is devoted to their marriage and what they think about their marriage. Is it real? Is it not real? When they get out of the game, because they're like locked in a virtual game reality, are they still going to want to be together? Is the time that they spend together in this game more important at all? Is it valuable to them? Is it actually part of their life, or is it just wasted time that once they get out of the game, they're going to regret? And it's beautiful, and it speaks a lot to our modern culture, where we spend so much time on computers and building relationships through computers. And it's nice to see, even if they don't do it flawlessly, or they don't make the most powerful insights, it's nice to see that an anime is trying to say something. I think the last anime that I ever saw that made any social points at all, or not even social points, but points about anything, was like Fooly Cooly. And I know there's that other one, God, what's it called? The one about musicians. It's got a kind of a similar stuff to it. But, yeah, Fooly Cooly makes a lot of... It has a lot of subtext, and it has a lot of messages and morals and ideas about it, and that's what makes that one of the best anime ever made. Is that it deals a lot, and it has a point to say. It's not just action and stupid for the sake of just mindless going into your eyes entertainment like most anime is. It actually had something that it wanted to say, which is going to make that last longer. It's going to make that stand with great pieces of motion art, like or film art, you know, like great television and great movies. That's what's going to make that anime last, is that it actually had a point to say about puberty and growing up and being a young boy turning into a man, and in general social pressures about sex and growing up in general. It's great, and it has a lot to say about those topics. It may be it's still fucking weird, but that's fine. It's fine for something to be weird as long as all of the weirdness has a purpose. And that's a big problem with a lot of anime, is that it has no purpose. It is pointless tripe. And it doesn't have to be. And it's kind of all on you to make it better. So yeah, this has been a long and confusing and semi-irreverent rant about some things I don't like about RPGs, some things I don't like about anime, some things I think you should incorporate when you're playing a character, and some things that you should think about anime. And I don't watch enough anime. This is probably not gonna be a regular topic, but I guess it just felt like going into it, and it's an opinion I've had for a long time, and I'm glad I could get it out there. And maybe it wasn't the most articulate, but fuck you. And if you disagree, I'll be happy to yell at you in the comments section. Alright. y'all have a good night, and subscribe, because while we're really rough and sloppy, we're gonna get better.